Hey guys, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase where there's a will, there's a way, but this is like an actual depiction of that phrase. So, my name is Amber Pacoda, and I am coming to you live tonight from my office. And tonight, I have a really special treat for you. For those of you who've watched me restart this live stream over and over again, you might already know that I'm interviewing Sean Strickland, who has been someone that I really look up to and has been sort of a personal mentor to me, even sort of from afar as I, watch her Facebook posts and listen to her live streams and things like that. So she may not have known it, but she's been a huge inspiration and encouragement to me, and I've learned a lot from her. So I have her joining me here today, and I'm going to tag her in a comment so that okay, I'm not going to be able to tag her in a comment. As soon as she hops on, I'm going to pull her on too, but I did want to let you know that Carissa Garver is in the comments. Wave at us, Carissa. She is in the live stream. She's watching, and she will be in the comments tonight, answering any questions that you might have, hooking us up with the links. Hey, Steve, would you mind tagging Sean? Maybe I didn't tag her in the post, so we might need that. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Or Charissa, either one. Carissa. Katie, my glasses, I left them off so that we didn't have a big glare the whole time. The lights that I use in my little studio kind of glare. But as soon as we get Sean on, we are going to start. But I did want to let you know that we're doing a live giveaway. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Powerful and Free by Danny Silk and a copy of God's Feminist Movement by me. So that is going to be towards the end, because anybody who shares this live stream is going to be entered to win, and we'll tag you in a comment and all of that stuff. So let's see here. Hey, oh, here we go. My live viewers. Now I've got to pull in Sean. Hey, Carissa, would you please tag Sean Strickland in the a comment, please? Because that way I can see her name and I can pull her on live. Thank you, Katie. That is a really sweet compliment. So as soon as we can pull her in here, we are going to get her in and get her up here so you can see her beautiful face and we can hear from her. Okay, she's trying. I think she has to be watching and comment. Okay, so Sean, if you're already watching, could you please comment? And if not, maybe Steve, you could private message Sean and let her know that that has to be, she has to be watching and comment. But I can see over here who all's watching, and as soon as I see her face pop up, I'm going to get her beautiful face in front of you and let her share a little bit about herself. So here's what we're going to do in the meanwhile. I want each of you who are already viewing, to comment and tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what state you're watching from. Because, we get to see you guys comment and on our posts, and it's nice to just get to know you guys a little bit more. All right, we've got her tagged up in the comments, and hopefully we can get her pulled on live soon. We have some really, I have some really juicy questions for her, and a lot of these things I don't know about her yet. And so I'm like just as excited to hear these answers as y'all are, hopefully. But, Sean is a pastor, Washington State, Arizona. All right. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from, guys. She is a pastor. She is the founder of Black Women Build Wealth, Missouri. And she is a life coach and all around just a very inspiring woman who has really inspired me to just kind of like shoot for the stars and be really brave and bold in my pursuit of advancing the kingdom. So she's been a really big inspiration to me, which is why I really wanted to pull her in and do this Facebook Live with her. I'm going to, oh, there we go. All right. I think we are cooking, guys.
Yay! It worked.
It happened. I'm so happy. I feel like we just cracked some, super secret code. This is magical right now because we finally got it going. So what I've been doing is sharing with our viewers just a little bit about how much you have inspired me as a leader and how much I just kind of like look up to you, like, as a leader, as a strong woman leader who just kind of like knows herself and walks in confidence and authority. So thank you for what you do for the body of Christ. Thank you for what you do for women, because I really absolutely appreciate it. And I think we need more strong, powerful women role models who are just not afraid to just be themselves. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I'm really excited about it.
This is going to be really good. So I already let them know that we are doing a giveaway at the end. I'm giving away a couple of books that are just going to be really good for any women leaders or men who are really wanting to empower women as leaders. So I'm going to be doing that towards the end. We're going to be giving away those two books, Powerful and Free and God's Feminist Movement. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to jump right in here, especially since we had so many false starts. I'm wondering, like, the people who were on each false start, those are the real MVPs right there. Those are my ride or die homie friends. And I know you guys. Now we got each other. So can you tell me, please, what was your inspiration for your program, Black Women Build Wealth? And can you tell us also, when you're sharing a little bit about your inspiration and what really motivated you to do that, can you also tell us where we can access that? So tell us about where to find you on your website.
Okay, great. All right. So I'll do it in reverse. You can find me. You can find the material at blackwomenbuildwealth.com so I don't forget that. So it's blackwomenbuildwealth.com. You can connect we have a Black Women Build Wealth page on Facebook, and you can connect with me at Shawn Strickland and all social medias. I'm just Shawn Strickland everywhere. And so a little bit of how I got here is in 2011, I started doing work as a life coach, personal development work. And one of the things, so I mean, as it worked out, the majority of my clients were Black women, and they were Black Christian women. And what kept coming up is that almost every time there was an issue with the dream, it was always around money, right? So I got really curious about what the issue with money was. So I started doing some research, and I came across this research that was actually startling to me, but at the same time made sense. And so just something as simple as this. So like every year we have Equal Pay Day. And I believe Equal Pay Day is in April. Well, so the whole conversation is around how a woman only makes 77 cents to 81 cents, depending on which research you look at, of what a man makes for every dollar a man makes, right? And they say it's for equal education, equal experience, that a woman makes less, right? Well, what I found out in the research is that refers to a white woman, because for a Black woman, it's 66 cents. And for a Hispanic woman, it's 54 cents. So a lot of people may not know this, but there is Equal Pay Day that is in April, but then there is Black Women Equal Pay Day, which is in August. So it literally takes a Black woman 18 months to make what her white male counterpart makes in a year. So then I found out, a wage gap is going to transfer to a wealth gap and an inheritance gap, right? And so for me, it became really important after doing a lot of research to have a different conversation with Black women about money, because we do have some things that the best way to say they are a brew over of slavery and a responsibility that many Black women have for their families that is sometimes very, very skewed and very, very out of place, that then causes us to do this thing where we set ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. And so it really, and it's interesting because I've had white women buy the book and I've had white women attend my events, and it's not an exclusion to white women. It is just saying we need to have a very different conversation about Black women and money, because if we're comparing even just 78 cents to 64 cents, there's a gap there, right? And we need to talk about what that gap means and what we need to do about it. So that's really how I got it. I didn't set out to do it. It was just really something I stumbled across during the work that I was doing. And I thought, hey, we need to try to fix this.
Wow, that's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that with me and with us, because these are things that we need to hear, that I need to hear, that I don't have any ability to experience for myself. And so the only way to know is to listen. So I really appreciate you, taking that vulnerability to really share with us that experience. So, the way I came to know about you is because I think I followed your husband first on social media. Either way, I think I knew Edwin first. And then I was like, whoa, who is this, powerful woman wife of his? And then I probably followed you about a year and a half before we really ever connected on social media. But one thing that sticks out to me about you and your husband is that you guys are what I would call the definition of a power couple. Because I see two people who honor and respect each other and work together and want to see one another succeed. But I want to ask you if you would mind sharing a little bit about what does it look like for you and your husband to lead together in various settings, such as your church, your family, etc. Because I know that it can be challenging when you have two strong leaders that, are both very talented and gifted. And so I would just like to hear what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. How do you guys handle leading together like that?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so let me see. So we've been married 23 years, so we have a little practice doing this, okay? But I would say the first place that I think a lot of honor belongs to Edwin's mother. She raised him as a single mother, even though his father was active in his life. His father wasn't in his home. And so she really taught him to cook, to clean, to go to the grocery store, all of that different stuff. So as a result, we've never had the dynamic that a lot of people have in marriage about what's my job and what's his job. And in fact, if we're honest, he's way more domesticated than I am. Like, he's like the type of person who folds clothes for therapy, which I don't even understand. I'm like, I don't know what that means, right? But if he's been traveling and he's had a tough week, he's like, nobody wash the clothes. I'm going to wash and fold them all. Yes, praise the Lord, saints. Yeah. So I think a lot of that has to do with how his mother raised him. And so as a result, I've never had a lot of the battles that women, particularly in ministry, have. They just don't exist for us because he doesn't have those issues. As far as us just being really strong, my spiritual mother, Cynthia Brazelton, used to say to us when we didn't get along so well, when we didn't lead so well together, she used to say to us, if you guys would ever figure out that you are two sides of the same coin, you're two sides of the same coin, right? And she would say, stop trying to make the other person like you and just understand that together you're better.
That's good.
And so we just over time have learned that, Edwin is type A, he is detailed, he is oriented, he is going to check the box 5 times, right? I am big idea, like, let's go to Mars tomorrow, right? He's like, whoa, we need a plan to go to Mars. And so over time, we've just really, really learned how to make that work. Like he'll be like, I need an idea for X. Well, I'm an idea girl. And then he'll be like, okay, I'll give him the idea. And then, oh, so here's a great thing. Like I used to think that Edwin was like a dream killer because I didn't get what type A people do, right? And so it's a funny story. So one time when our church was in a different location, I wanted to have live animals for Easter. Right. So I'm like excited. I got the team pumped up. I'm in the meeting and I'm like, we're gonna have live animals. He's like, wait. First of all, we leased this building. Have you checked the lease agreement to make sure that we can bring live animals in? Second of all, where are we going to get the live animals from? Who's going to manage them? And who's going to make sure that they don't poop on the carpet, right? And so I used to feel like that was like, oh, you know, like, oh, here you go. And then I just realized that he really was always saying, we can do it, but you got to think through the stuff. And so just over time, I've really, really come to really appreciate it. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't ever get on my nerves, because it still does, because it's so different from who I am, but I have a lot of respect for it, because I just know that if I listen to him and if I give him the chance to implement the steps, we're going to be better together than we would be with just my let's go get a lamb and bring it in the sanctuary and it poops all over the front and then I'm not sure what to do about it, right?
Oh, I love that. I love that. So what happens when you guys disagree? You know, that's a huge question that we get a lot as egalitarians, you know, like, okay, so you manage your marriage as two equals. Nobody's the boss over the other. Who's going to make the final call? So why don't you tell me some of the strategies you guys do? What are some of the things you guys do? You flip a coin? What do you do when you guys disagree on something that maybe it's important?
Oh, that's interesting. So, what do we do when we disagree? It really depends on what we disagree about. Yeah. I think that he would say that most of the time it's not a big deal to him. So he's just like, hey, whatever, right? Like, you know, we have, because we really believe in the power of authority and being submitted and connected. So we have an agreement that if there's something major that we can't work through, that we talk to our spiritual parents. Or we talk to, you know, our mentors in ministry. We have spiritual parents and we have mentors in ministry. And we go in with the agreement that we are going to do whatever they say. Because we clearly couldn't get to an agreement by ourselves. And so if you're going to go get wisdom, you need to follow the wise counsel. We haven't had to do that very much, like, you know, since we've been year 18 or so. I mean, I don't know, something happened in 18. We just kind of both really grew up a whole lot, right? But ultimately, I think it depends on a couple of things. Like if we're talking about our kids or something, we are going to keep going back to God until we get an answer, right? But if we are talking about whether I should do something with my business or whether I should take the job or he should take a job somewhere, then ultimately the lead goes to the person who's going to deal with it. Yeah. And so that's really how it works. And for the church, to me, it's really easy. Because even though we are equal, Edwin was a pastor before I was. So because I grew up in a background where women didn't pastor, right? And so, you know, I know all the equal people may not like this, but I like being able to say sometimes, yeah, I don't know, ask your pastor, right? Like, ask your pastor what we should do, right? And so, I mean, I do that a lot. The older we get and the more in sync we get about our vision and stuff, we just don't disagree a whole lot.
That's cool. That's good. Actually, some of that I never even thought of, even though, you know, I've been answering this question for a long time. So I'm like, I need to be taking notes or something. I'll have to rewatch this.
Yeah. Okay. And we just, and here's the thing, I fundamentally trust him. Yeah. So like, if there was ever like, I think if he's like, I believe we need to do this, I'm going to go with him ultimately, because he has proven his ability to just, the truth of it is he's probably thought about a whole lot of stuff that I didn't. So I'm going to be like, yeah, let's rock with your answer.
Yeah, that's funny, because I think I see, like, as you were saying that, I thought of myself and my husband And like, there's certain areas where, like, definitely if he was like, I just got a bad feeling about that, I would definitely want to just go with that. Specifically, finances, because he's a better budgeter than I am. Like, I honestly, I'm learning all this for myself for the first time, because I realized I was kind of placing an unfair burden completely on him. Like, I didn't want to know anything about the finances. And so there are other areas where I'm thinking that I'm probably possibly more knowledgeable in, and I'm thinking about how we've done a little bit of that without really realizing what we were doing. Like, okay, this is your area of expertise. I'm going to default to what you're saying. So that's really good. So I wanted to ask you, because like I feel like I have some things in common with you as far as like being kind of like, I want to say, oh, did we lose Sean? Are you still there, Sean? Well, guys, we might have to pull her back in. Sean, if you can see me, I'd like you to comment again, and I'm gonna get you pulled back on. It says it won't let me bring you on the camera at the moment. Boy, this is kind of rude of Facebook to do this to us. Let's see. Okay, she's here. I know, right? Emma, sadness, you guys, come on. Okay, so Sean, maybe you could log off and log back on again and comment one more time, because it's not showing me that I have you available to bring on. So maybe just, one of those things where you turn it off and turn it back on. We'll see if we can do that. Because it says I can't bring you on right now. I know, it's so rude of Facebook to do that to us. You're here. Hey, Sean, I don't know if you left and come back. If you haven't left and come back yet, then could you do that, please? Because it's like kicked you off. And it says I can't bring you to join. Dude, magic reset button. I know, I'm trying here to do the magic reset button. So, yeah. Okay, you just did. Let's see. Okay, well, that is a little weird. It is not letting me bring you on, and I don't know if it has to do with Hello Darkness, my old friend. Yeah, that's what I'm singing right here in my soul as I cry on the inside. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I am going to start fresh, and we're going to bring Sean back on. So stay on Azer Rising Facebook page, and when the fresh live stream, okay, you want to try again? She's going to try one more time first. We'll try this one more time, and she's going to leave and see if I can she's going to leave and come back. And I'll see if I can bring her on. Dude, man, the technology is really like not being our best friend today, is it? It's so weird. Okay. Oh, it's going to let me bring you. Praise God. I'm going to do my little praise dance here. Whew. Oh my goodness. This is like,
I'm back.
What is going on with Facebook? All right. Okay. So, I don't even remember where we left off, but I do remember which question I was going to ask. So I'll just go ahead and ask it. Oh, I remember now. So as a woman who is like a straight shooter and really direct, sometimes, it can be intimidating to people. So I don't know if you have the same problem, but what advice do you have for women who are bold and direct? Who maybe sometimes without meaning to, they do seem to intimidate others without trying, solely on the merit that they're powerful leaders. Let's assume that they're not really rude. Let's assume that they're not jerks and that it's really just a byproduct of being a strong woman leader. What advice would you have for them? Because I see you as a strong woman leader. So.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so according to my sons, people are also intimidated by me because I'm tall. So before I ever say a word.
I'm like a shrimp, by the way. I'm only 5'2", so.
Well, I'm 6 feet. So from the moment I walk in the room. And so I try to be a little more intentional about like, smiling at people and being, just because I get it. I struggle with it a little bit because I really don't understand it. Like, I'm not sure how you're intimidated by someone who's not trying to intimidate you. I don't get it. So, I mean, I really have a big gap there. And so I do try to be a little more intentional about like just smiling and saying hi and stuff like that. But on the other side, I also try to make sure that I'm like not being rude, not being all of those things that direct people can be, even if that's not the intention, right? It's just like, like here's a good example. When I text people, I typically don't say a greeting first. Like if we're friends and we talk, I typically don't go, I wouldn't go good morning. I go such, 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 such. And then now I've learned to go sometimes at the end, I'm like, oh, by the way, good morning, right? Because even though it's not my intention to be rude, a lot of people feel that that's rude, right? And so if it's not my intention to be rude, then it's not that hard to work on, right? But I think women have to be really careful about not allowing someone to make them shrink down just because you are not used to people, just because you're not used to me, people being direct doesn't mean that I am intimidating you, right? And so I try to give like the people at our church a little understanding of how to work with me. I'm like really different than Edwin. He's a lot more what's the word? He's like I'm probably really internal, right? So if people watch my videos or whatever, they think I'm like really like social, and I can be, but not always. So I can be like really a really deep thinker. So I try to say things like, hey, if you saw me and I didn't speak to you, I probably didn't see you. You know what I'm saying? Like because I'm thinking, not because I'm trying to be rude. So I try to create some things like that. But ultimately, I believe that the people who are called to you want to believe the best about you. So they aren't always looking to be offended by you being you. So if you are always offended by me being me, then I encourage you to go find someone that you are not always offended by. How was
Amen.
that? How was that? I don't know.
That's
That's
good.
how I feel about it. Yeah.
That's good. I'm like, I need to quote you for that. That's good. I like that. Because that's true. We're not called to minister to every single person, and some people we're just not going to be their cup of tea. I'm more like a
Yes.
strong cup of coffee, to be honest.
Even though I don't drink, I'm probably more like a strong shot of whiskey.
There you go.
If you're tender, I even say that to people about coaching. I'm like, if you're like super tender, yeah, you probably don't want to work with me, but I can refer you to some super tender, rub your back kind of coaches. That's just not who I am. It doesn't work for me.
That's good. I mean, and part of that is like knowing yourself, knowing how you are. And so that's really good. I like that. Thank you.
Can I say this too?
Yeah.
I think it's important to know spiritual giftings. Like someone taught this and I heard this and it really blessed me. It's like not only do we have fivefold ministry gifts, but we also have the other gifts, right? And so if you are a pastor and your top gift is mercy, you're going to pastor very differently than someone who's a pastor and their top gift is knowledge or discernment. So, and she actually said something that really stuck with me. She said, pay attention to John the Baptist. He not only knew who he was, he knew who he wasn't.
Wow.
And that like for me, I think sometimes for women, it's important for us to know not just who we are, but who we aren't. Because if we know who we aren't, like when they came to John the Baptist and they were like, hey, are you the Messiah? He was like, nope, but I am this, right? And then the more we understand that, then I think the less we end up being frustrated because we've allowed someone to work us in a role that really doesn't fit for us.
That's good. That's good. And as you were saying that, I've never thought about that, but thinking back, I can actually remember key seasons in my life where I began to realize who I wasn't, just like what you're saying. And I'm like, thinking back, I didn't realize what was going on, but it was empowering to me to say, I don't have to try to be that because I'm just not. So, I have other good qualities, but that's just not part of who I am right there. Let's see what
It's not.
this is good. Emma says, when we help people partner with our church, we help them by giving them a personality test and a spiritual gifts assessment and talk about how to best serve alongside people of different personalities. That's really good. Because you know what? I might be a wild, creative type, but I need structured people in my life because I am wild and free
Wild
and
and
all that
creative,
stuff. Like
right?
wild and fancy free. So that's really good. Okay, so this question is what we are going to finish on, and I left it for last because I wanted to give you plenty of time to answer it. And it's actually something that's really near and dear to my heart, and I've been like waiting to hear what you thought about this. So I'll just jump right in. So I am an egalitarian. I consider myself a Christian feminist. And one of the, I would say, legitimate complaints that I hear sometimes is that mainstream feminism and even egalitarianism sometimes just kind of leaves women of color in the dust. They don't advocate for women of color. They're not trying to further all women, just women like them. And so what my question is to you is that what is advice, what practical things or what advice would you have for feminists and egalitarians who don't want to drop the ball anymore? What can we do to be better allies to our sisters of color? What can we do to not fail so miserably as we might have in the past?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. How much time do you have? Okay, so let's see.
Listen, I'm not going to cut you off, okay?
Okay, so let's start here.
Okay.
I think that the first place that white women could start is by not being offended when women of color don't trust you. So a lot of times what happens is that like white women come to the party, you know, and they're like, we're here to help. And we're like, yeah, I don't know you. And I've seen other white women who said that they were feminists and here to help, and they didn't actually. They actually came to hurt. So I think that some of it is that if you really want to help, you have to understand that in the beginning, there will probably be a great amount of distrust because we want to. In fact, I just had this conversation with somebody today. I'm like, yeah, you're a nice person, but I am a Black woman in the South in America.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of stuff I have to work through and discern about who you are and what your intentions actually are, right? And what's going to happen when we disagree. Because, so my personal take is that white women love my strength until they feel like I am being strong toward them. So if they need someone to run to a fight, if they need someone to get their back, then I'm it, right? But when I don't agree, then it's like, oh my God, Sean, you're so angry. You're so like, I'm not, no, it's the same strength. Like it's the same strength. I just don't agree with you right now, right? And so for me, I think the first step for anybody who really wants to be an ally is to understand that the distrust that many women of color feel, it is legitimate and it may not be you, but if you look around, you can understand why it exists. So learn to be a friend and learn to be trustworthy. That's the first thing I would say.
That's good.
The second thing that I would say is that I believe that white women who really want to be allies of women of color have to bring them to the table. And I posted a story the other week. I don't know if they're Christians or not, but it's the two ladies that played in The Help, and I don't remember either one of them's name, but it was a Black lady and a white lady. And when the white lady found out how much less the Black lady made than she did, she linked their contracts together and basically said, I won't take the next deal unless she comes. Like she didn't just give this lip service. She actually put some weight behind it, right? Yes, Emma, that's exactly what you hear me saying. You need to be in this for the long term and build real relationships and realize that if I'm distant or guarded, I'm really just trying to ascertain who you really are, right? And not whether you love Jesus, but what's going to happen when race stuff happens. So, and so I think so. The second thing is that you have to bring women of color to the table. And so this lady asked me what that looks like. What does that look like? To me, it looks like this. When you have a conference, who do you have of color that's on your stage? Okay. When Black women have a conference, do you go? Like, there are other Black women out here ministering besides Priscilla Shirer. Like, she's great, but she's not. And so kind of what happens is that, like, one Black woman becomes like the star, and then like all of the white women conferences are like, bring her, bring her, bring her. And that's really great for her, but she's not the only person who's relevant, who has a word, all of that. And so, and the third thing that I would say, particularly for white women in the South, is that there has typically been a very mothering role between Black women and white women, just culturally, right? Took care of the house, take care of the babies, all of that, right? And so as a result, I believe that white women can unknowingly expect to be mothered and nurtured sometimes instead of bringing nurturing to it. So it's like there's this high demand of, there's this just high demand of emotional support, which can just be overwhelming. Crystal says that it's actually Jessica Chastain and Octavia Spencer that I was talking about. And so she bundled her contract. And Octavia Spencer was like, basically, she got me a pay raise that I wouldn't have gotten if she hadn't said, I'm not coming unless you pay her more. And so, I think because I think that what women of color, at least for me, what I want to see is that I don't just want to see your lip service. I want to see you in the trenches when it's time to be in the trenches. And to me, that really looks like, don't just, put on your P hats, grab your Starbucks and march, and then not have intersectionality in the movement, because that is what is aggravating to many, many Black women. It's like there is no real intersectionality. It's white women. And understand that typically the issues that white women and Black women have, even though we're fighting for equality, the fight looks very different.
Yeah.
So for example, in the early days, white women were trying to go to work. Well, Black women weren't trying to go to work. Black women had Black women had always worked for free. And so the fight's not the same. And so I think that white women have to be willing to just really hear, and to understand this, that like every time I said white women, I didn't mean every single white woman in the whole wide world. I didn't mean every single one. And so we don't always need you to go, well, I'm not like that. Well, then if you're not like that, we're not talking to you. We're just talking to the ones that are like that, right? And so, and then the last thing is around emotional labor. One of the things that's incredibly frustrating to me is this. Most of us have smartphones. They're faster than our computers. You can Google anything you want to Google, but a lot of times when some white women don't understand something about race, what they want is Black women to do the labor with them. And it's like, it may be conversation to you, but it is labor for me to talk about the things that have happened with my kids, the way that I feel sometimes when I enter into a room. And so to me, if you really want to be an ally, go do the research, go find other white women who have done the research, and don't to me, it's like asking a rape victim to keep retelling their story when they didn't ask you to tell the story. It's different if I come and say, hey, I want to help you guys understand this, right? Then you just like, oh no, well, Shawn will walk us through. So I think that's, and I will give you a great example about when the last election happened. And so when the last election happened and the president won, a lot of my white friends, they were like crying. They couldn't get out of bed. They were like devastated. They were like, what are we going to do? And so, okay. So I'm like, so I say to them, here's what we're going to do. Well, we're going to do what Black people always do when stuff like this happens. We go get up and keep going because that's who we are. That's what we do. Right. And so So like literally I would go to dance class and they would be crying and they would need a hug and all of this stuff. And so finally after week 3, here's what I say, listen, ladies, you're just learning what it's like to be Black in America. You're gonna have to suck it up and stop all this crying, because we don't necessarily have the opportunity to do all of that weeping and crying and grieving. And to me, that election was a great opportunity that many white liberal women for the first time got to see what it actually felt like to be Black in America. And so we're like, so you like want to have 30 conversations to process? We like, hey, listen, we got to keep rolling because this is what's happened. This is where we are. So those are the things that I would say, and forgive a lot of the women or a lot of people who really are angry. And so then they seem like they take out everything on white people. And I know that that's incredibly unfair, but pray for them and understand that a lot of that anger is very, very legitimate. And I don't know if you know this, but they actually came out with some research 2 years ago where they identified that African Americans actually have post-traumatic slave disorder, stress disorder. So literally they know that they went down to the cellular level and found the stress, the things that they can see as a result of Black people being in slavery, right? And so literally there are reactions that people have. That makes sense, right? If your mom has diabetes, you're prone to diabetes. And so like that, those years and years of trauma are showing up for African Americans now in ways, and people are going, get over it. But how do you get over something that's never been healed or dealt with to begin with? So I would say, if you really want to be an ally, number 1, pray and love people. Number 2, learn how to listen and learn how to really hear. Don't dump all of your stuff on us. Go find a group over there where you can dump all that stuff and you can come and lift up. Open your stage for people, open doors. That's what I said. And then the other 2, we'll have to like go back through and then make the numbers because I don't remember. But I mean, just it's a lot. Relationships are a lot of work. Relationships are a lot of work when race isn't involved.
Right.
So relationships are a lot of work when people are trying to break down racial barriers and you don't even sometimes understand the things that you're doing that are offensive. And then, here's my last thing I'd say. The thing that Black people have over white people is that Black people have had to study white people to live. I gotta know, you know what I'm saying? Like literally a facial expression, a twitch, whatever, right? That can be the difference between life and death. So we know a lot about white people, but white people don't take the time to know a lot about Black people. And so that's the disadvantage I think that white people have, is that white people don't typically set themselves in scenarios. A lady told me the other day that she almost didn't come in our church because she looked in and there were so many Black people. And then she said to herself, she said to herself, how many times in Northwest Arkansas is a Black kid the only Black kid in the class? So the truth of it is that, so for me, it's like sometimes white people will come to our church and they will say, I don't really feel comfortable here because there aren't a lot of other white people. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what you want me to tell. That's my whole life. And so I think that white women who really want to be allies have to put themselves in those situations where they actually get to feel that level of discomfort and not run from it. And that's tough. I get it. But it is the life that people of color live every single day, to just settle into it. I challenge white people. I'm like, hey, you want to really build relationships? Go to a Black church for a month and see what it likes to feel like to be in that space and not know the songs or the culture or the rhythm and all of that stuff, and then get an idea of what that feels like. So yeah, that's what I got.
That's really good. I wanted to expand for a moment on something you said, because this might make it even clearer to people who I know already follow Aza Rising. You mentioned how, sometimes people will use generalizations and they'll say, when white people do this, and it's a white person's first instinct to say, but wait, not all white people are like that. so in the egalitarian world, for you, those of you who are, we're in a lot of groups together. We're in egalitarian groups. You follow Aza Rising. You know, many times in the egalitarian feminist circles, when we're saying, hey, you know, men have abused me, there's toxic masculinity, there's always the one dude that will be like, hey, not all men are like this. I mean, it's a hashtag not all men. And what we normally would say is like, we know not all men do this. And if you're not one of those men, then thank you. And so I just wanted to share that because it might give some people here who are listening a little idea of what you mean by that. And for me, I think that a lot of my realization to my own white privilege, to the struggle and pain that my brothers and sisters of color have been through, came as a journey through egalitarianism. So as I began to realize the sexist lies that were embedded in, even in the Christian church, especially in the Christian church, it actually, one thing led to another. And I realized that there were a lot of people who would say, oh, well, you know, sexism is not really a big deal in the church. Like, women have the same stuff going on. Oh, well, I've never experienced that, so it's not really real. And one thing led to another, and I realized that the same things, the exact same mindsets, are prevalent in topics of racism. Because we'll say, well, I mean, I don't think that really happens because I didn't experience it. Well, the only reason I didn't experience it is because I'm a white lady, you know? So it doesn't mean it's not real. And I think that we have to put our pride aside and say, your experience is not my experience. And when you tell me what you've been through, I'm going to believe you. I'm not going to question it. I'm going to assume the best of you, and I'm going to believe you when you tell me this happens to me. I'm going to believe you when you say our sons are not safe. I'm going to believe you when you tell me I'm afraid sometimes because of this situation and it puts me in fear. And so I would say to my friends who are listening, to our followers of Aza Rising, put yourself in a posture to listen to people of color, to people who are different than you, just in general, people who come from very different walks of life. Take the time to listen. Believe when they tell you their stories. Believe them when they tell you the struggles that they've been through. So, yeah, I don't want to take away from what you were saying, but I thought I could possibly.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a, because typically we don't understand until we have something similar we can connect it to, right? And I do think, and I would say to you, I think that one of the reasons that women of color who are feminists are so aggravated with people of color is that, like, you get how men do, you know what that feels like. So then why would you now do the same thing to me? Why would you now say to me, well, none of my friends are racist? I'm not sure that I mean, you feel good in Northwest Arkansas. How could you know that? And so I think that is, I think that that's a perfect comparison.
All right. Well, you know what? This has been so good. I just want to say thank you because, you know, I wanted to pull some like hard questions out of you and really get you to share some stuff that, you know, might be uncomfortable for you. It might be uncomfortable for people listening. It's stuff that, you know, people generally get all offended and about, but I really wanted to go there. And I'm just like really thankful that you know, took the time to share with us. I feel like, you know, you have like a vast oceans more of wisdom that you could pour out for us tonight. But I want to respect your time and respect those of the people who are watching, because we said we were going to do a 1 hour, even though we had like all those false starts. Like, oh my Lord,
right. What
was going on? I know what was going on. Like, this was just worth it. Sometimes good things are just worth the effort, sticking it out and pushing through. But you know, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift for just a moment and we're going to give away a couple of books. Okay. So for those of you who are on here right now and you're like, oh, you're giving away books, I didn't know. All you have to do is share this live feed, which is fine because even after we end, it'll be on your news feed and people can pick up and watch. So if you want to win 2 books, God's Feminist Movement is one of them.
Which is a great book.
I heard it was good.
It's a good book.
And
I
also,
have my copy.
oh, good. Oh, that's right. I got you. And Powerful and Free by Danny Silk. So we're going to be sending out those 2 books, and those are going to be great for, you know, empowering a woman leader, or if you are a man and you really want to empower women to lead, that's going to be 2 great books for you to read. So if you want to get in on that, you need to share it right now, because I'm about to go look, and there's going to be a random selection. I'm going to say your name, and then for those of you who didn't catch on, or maybe I didn't repeat it the 3rd time I went live again, Carissa Garver is part of Azer Rising. She is our little ambassador in the comments, and she is going to probably tag your name. Hopefully we talked about it. Yeah, share it right now, because I'm about to go ahead and randomly select someone. Carissa is going to tag your name after I call it out. That way we don't have to, let's see here. Okay, so let me pull this up. And we're about to, you gotta love multitasking, right? I mean, I'm only doing 17 things at once. They say when you multitask, when you're doing multiple things at once, you're doing nothing well, which would explain a lot, actually, but.
That's what they say. I don't know that I believe that, though.
There are certain things I still will multitask. When I'm on my walks, sometimes I'll do like declarations, like positive declarations. I'm like, hello, that is multitasking. That is a very definition. Okay, so I'm going to do a random.
That's what we do. We multitask. That's what we do.
That's right. I think I'm always doing like 3 things at once. I'm not even kidding. I wish sometimes I could close some tabs out in this mind.
Hey, I just want to say this. It has nothing to do with anything, but you have the best eyebrows. Your eyebrows are they are everything.
I'll take that. I'll take that, because we had a little struggle going on with the brows this morning. So thank you. Well, I was like, I'm feeling the pressure, because I knew that when we look on the live stream, my screen is bigger and yours is smaller. And so I was like, your details are going to show up, Amber. You got to get this right, because.
No, you got it. Those eyebrows are everything. I'm like sitting here praying. I'm like, Lord, those are the eyebrows I want. Like, what's happening here? Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Okay. So if I mispronounce your name, you're going to have to forgive me. And then you can inbox me and be like, actually, it is this. Okay. So, but maybe I'll get it right. Juliani Gonzalez Nieves. And so Carissa, when you tag her up, it's Juliany Gonzalez Nieves. And if you really can't find it, just click on shared shares, and then find her in there, and let's tag her up. And we're going to be sending you a copy of God's Feminist Movement by that crazy lady that we all know and love. And Powerful and Free. I already forgot the name of the other book. I'm like, and another great book, Powerful and Free, came to me. I was about to panic there for a moment. But yeah, so you guys who have watched, I want to encourage you to find Shawn on social media, visit her website, check out what she has to offer. She is a life coach. She's also a pastor, and somebody who's really impacted me, because I watch a lot of her live streams, Facebook lives, and I really feel like what she and her husband Edwin really share with the body of Christ is really changing and shifting Christian culture for the better. And so, like, you as a Christian have something really amazing in your hands, because you have the ability to follow leaders and posture yourself to receive wisdom from people you've never even met before. So utilize that. Follow her on social media. She has a Facebook page, and then she has her personal page. Like the Facebook page and follow her on social media. Again, we've linked it up in the comments, but the website is blackwomenbuildwealth.com, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. See, I got it memorized now, so there we go. But we've linked it up and
say you don't have to be Black to read the book.
right.
Right.
Right. You don't have to be Black, because I did. I'll be like, I'm not Black, but I'm reading this anyways because I love Shawn and I love everything she shares. So I'm always like,
thank you.
I'm telling you, every time you do a live video, I learn something and I love it. So there's Carissa in the comments again. We've linked Juliani Gonzalez up. And, you know, guys, comment below, tell Shawn thank you, and make sure you're following her on all the platforms that I just mentioned. Thanks, you guys, for watching. I feel like there's something really big that I forgot here, but we're going to just let it go because we can't sit here all night while I remember it. Is there anything else you wanted to share, Shawn?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. This was really cool. And you know, I'd like to, anybody who wants to talk. So I want to say this part about the emotional labor. Anybody who wants to ask questions, you can ask me questions, because we don't have some fragile tension filled thing going on in the nation, right? So I don't mean you can't ever ask questions. That's not what I'm saying. So if you want to message me, ask me questions, that's cool. And I want to tell you this as a trick. Whenever you finish your Facebook lives, right, you need to count to 10 seconds before you push stop, because if you don't, then it cuts off the last thing that you say.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you said that.
Edwin taught me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but thank you for the opportunity. This was really great, and I love what you're doing here.
Oh, thank you. We just really appreciate you having on. You're like, I've already told my the whole staff of Ace Rising. I'm like, y'all need to go ahead and start following her now, because I want to interview her. I think we've been trying to do this. I talked about it back in like November or something. So this is how fast I get my life together. But yeah, so you guys who are just now hopping on at the end, once I'm finished, I'm just going to post it on the Ace Rising page, and you need to come back and watch from the beginning. You're going to need to like have paper and pen and take notes. I have an open Word document or whatever. Thank you so much, Shawn, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.